Hi everyone, welcome to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for the noontime Go Local Live. We are kicking off today with a special guest. Maria LaRosa with the Weather Channel down in Atlanta is joining us to give us an update on Hurricane Florence. Maria, how are you today?
Doing okay. Busy here at the headquarters, of course.
So have to let folks know you've got the Rhode Island connection, siblings at URI up here, and we're going to tack as to what this weather pattern might hold for New England. But in the meantime, let's talk about what we're seeing as we speak.
Okay, the latest advisory was 11 a.m. and as you know, it came ashore early this morning, 7:15 at Wrightsville Beach as a Category 1 storm, max winds at 90 miles per hour. The latest update, 11 a.m., now has sustained winds at 80 miles per hour. But the key is that it has slowed down, continues to move at a snail's pace, and that's going to be huge when we talk about the major impact that we're most concerned about, and that is the rainfall and the river flooding. We've already seen reports over a foot of rain. There will be places that are threatening North Carolina's state rain record, which is 24.06 inches of rain, which came along with Floyd in 1999. That says a lot. A lot of people are thinking back to Matthew as well. We could have the Cape Fear River and the Lumber River crest higher than they did during Matthew just 2 years ago. So that is going to be the focus with the forecast of this storm. And to put in perspective, it's only the center of it, forecast only to make it to the upstate of South Carolina by Sunday morning. So that is what's going to lead to some incredible rainfall totals. And another side note too, with it moving so slowly, there are still a lot of places along the North Carolina coast that are seeing that push of water, that surge. So a couple more tide cycles on that side, places like Cape Fear, some of the Outer Banks still have some high water potential. And then when the winds shift in places like Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, that'll be a concern for them.
So question for you, Maria. Excuse me here. How is it that it stalls? What's the weather that the weather pattern that basically contributes to the stalling of the storm itself?
You know, we think of these systems as massive, forward motion machines, but they're really just dense fluids moving within a fluid and at the mercy of all the other systems. So what we have with Florence, it was being guided to the coast with a very strong high pressure. So that kept it on that west-northwest track. Well, now we have a weaker high pressure and very little steering flow around it. So there's nothing to kind of get it going. And so that's why it is going to be moving so slowly. It's really not until early next week that we get sort of that jet stream to help us out a little bit and get it kicking to the north and east, which then for you guys means you may feel some of that tropical environment, some of that rainfall as we get from Tuesday to Wednesday.
And so when it was approaching the Carolinas, Maria, clearly a lot of talk about just the size and scope of it being the size of Michigan. I'm surprised I didn't use Rhode Island, but clearly bigger because now we're getting into a bigger state territory. What happens? Is it that expansive still? Obviously when it hits land, that slows it. But is it still that big in size and scope?
It is still a huge system. We, as of the latest advisory, those tropical storm force winds extend 195 miles out from the center. So you're talking 300-400 mile wide stretch experiencing tropical storm force winds, with the hurricane force winds still in that 75 to 80 mile out from the center range. So there's still a lot of mileage coverage from this system. So all the way from South Carolina to almost the Virginia border right now, experiencing those tropical storm force winds. And what's interesting is that, it does come ashore, it does, weaken. We say weaken, but it still has a lot of other powers to it. Those winds spread out. So you may see the core of the system weaken, from 90 to 80, but the forceful winds, tropical storm to hurricane force, that influence, that radius stretches out. So that's always a concern too after landfall.
And so I appreciate your giving us the heads up as to what's taking place down there and what we can possibly expect up here. Now, as you said, it's going to be a depression when it hits Rhode Island, but can we expect significant rain up here?
Significant in some ways, yes, several inches. The forecast right now, you're looking at this adding maybe 2 or 3 inches of rainfall in parts of New England, touching on Rhode Island specifically. And that may not seem like a lot because of the numbers that we're dealing with right now. You hear, 20 inches of rain, you're thinking, oh, 2 to 3 inches of rain, not a big deal. That's sufficient to create some problems. So I don't want to alarm anyone, just alert that you may see some flash flooding. There are some areas in the Northeast and New England that have really saturated ground, and so this is going to be an issue, adding water to the river systems and that are already kind of taxed at this point with water.
Well, Maria, I appreciate your taking the time to give us the lay of the land, so to speak, as all eyes are down there, and our thoughts and prayers are with folks to stay safe. So we appreciate your time. Maria LaRosa with the Weather Channel. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to speak with you soon.
All right, thank you, Kate.
Okay, thanks, Maria. Don't go anywhere. I want to thank Maria LaRosa.